Hi, this is Amina Sheikh here on Zoom channel, and with me right now I have the trade analyst Taran Adarsh, sir, who's going to talk about the box office collection of Border 2 and a lot about Bollywood in the year 2026. So join me as I welcome him only on Zoom. Lovely to have you, sir, and thank you for coming on this show. Every
Thank
week, every week, and every alternate week, whenever you come and when you give your predictions and the way you speak, it becomes a trending topic. People come and watch it. I must say that, and going by the word and going not only by the word of mouth, but whenever we have seen the kind of predictions you have done, it has really kind of matched. So this time I really want to know about your predictions for Border 2 and for 2026 when it comes to Bollywood.
Yes, first of all, thank you so much, Samina, for joining me, for making me join you on your show. Uh, the thing is, you know, first of all, let's begin with 2026. Of course, it did not start well. We had Ikkis on the 1st of January, which didn't work. People felt, a lot of people felt, and there was negativity saying that, it's Aman ki Asha, and why a film like that in today's time, especially post Dhurandhar, where people have pointed out the enemy nation. So, well, coming back to that, to Ikkis, it didn't work. After that, there was Kapil Sharma's film. Kapil Sharma's film was last year
Yeah.
after Dhurandhar. But after that, there were several films, including Raja Saab starring Prabhas. And
Hmm.
but these films didn't work at the box office, and it was very unfortunate because what happens is that Dhurandhar came on the 5th of December
Yes.
2025, and
Hmm.
post that, there was Tu Mera Main Teri and Kapil Sharma's film, and many other films that really didn't work at the box office, and you're back to square one. I mean, you're waiting
Yes.
for that big hit to actually strike, and
Yeah.
then you have Border 2 coming, which was timed for the
Hmm.
Republic Day release
Hmm.
on the 23rd of January, and
Hmm.
it started very well. It has been maintaining very well. I think the it's going to be Sunny Deol's second biggest week one grosser after Gadar
Yeah.
2. So,
Hmm.
it has crossed 200 crores, as you know. And,
Hmm.
well, let's see where it goes from now, because there are multiple films coming in tomorrow, on Friday,
Yes.
including Rani Mukherjee's film Mardani 3.
Yes.
And of course, the lineup is very, very impressive this year, I would say. And
Yeah.
let's see how Border 2 unfolds in weekend 2, especially. I feel
Hmm.
it's going to again, hit it out of the park in weekend 2 again, because the centers beyond beyond urban centers,
Hmm.
the mass pockets or the heartland are
Hmm.
phenomenal. And the best part is the family audiences are coming in and enjoying
Yeah.
the film. So that's all that matters.
That's true, sir. But also, as we talk about a movie like Border 2, yes, it has made some good numbers at the box office, but now we also have to see that this genre which is actually picking up in Bollywood since quite some time, and we have seen that with Uri, now Dhurandhar, where it's a spy universe, and even Border 2, which talks about वतन के आगे कुछ भी नहीं. कहीं ना कहीं the patriotism in all of us awakens when we see such movies. There is some goosebumps which we feel, but at the same time it also get politicized. Some people like start criticizing on social media, giving it different angles and all. So do you feel that probably it is working for the patriotism, or probably also the way things have been created around it, the
No, I
polarized
think it's working for
versions?
the patriotism factor mainly.
Hmm.
And, I have always felt that, pre-release and post-release, pre-release, of
Hmm.
course, as you know, there was a lot of negativity, mainly in particular for Varun Dhawan. And
Yes.
a lot of people on social media were targeting him for reasons best known to them. And then
Yes.
post release, now there were people. I saw a couple of YouTubers
Hmm.
reviewing a film. It's okay to review a film, but don't hit below the belt. That's what I
Yeah.
feel. If you don't like a film, fine. I have also I have disliked a film so many times, but I have never hit below the belt. So having said that, I feel that it's okay. कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना. But the fact is, eventually,
Hmm.
all that matters are the box office collection, because this is a very expensive film. And there
Yes.
are war sequences. It's a war drama with a
Hmm.
massive star cast being headlined by Sunny Deol, who returns to
Hmm.
this franchise after, almost 3 decades.
But sir, also as you said, like of course, when Sunny Deol is there and when he's with that high kilo ka haath, it
Yeah,
makes a different noise altogether. But talking about someone like Varun Dhawan, as you rightly pointed out, he became a bit of jokes and
yeah,
people started, making meme, though he still took it lightly and it was very kind of him to kind
very,
of like
very.
just join, them. At the same time, talking about his career at this moment, do you feel that a film like Border kind of works in his favor for a career upliftment? And when I say so, the past films have not worked for him, in his
Yeah,
favor.
I agree.
People had expectations from Baby John also, and it didn't work. And even the kind of pairing he had with Janvi Kapoor, people really had some high expectations, and unfortunately, it didn't work in his favor. Do you feel because this also talks about something which we have never seen Varun Dhawan in a role like that of a soldier? So, what do you have to say on that?
I watched the film a day before its release. Samina, I just want to add here that I'm sure people will be silenced after
Hmm.
they watch the film. Of course, I had seen the film till interval, and then I was supposed to watch the remaining part. But I
Hmm.
was so impressed by his performance. Also, I would like to add here is that the social media is a place where people would there are a lot of armchair critics, I would say, who sit there and who write off a particular actor or a film without even watching that film. I mean,
Hmm.
the content was ready only on Thursday evening, and I was one of the few people who had watched the film a day before the release,
Hmm.
besides the producers, of course, and the actors. And Varun
Yeah.
was there at the screening. And I must tell you that when I told him, he said, "Okay, let the Friday come and let the Friday speak." So graceful of him. He could have bad-mouthed anyone. He could have spoken against anyone that he felt like, or he could have given vent to his feelings, saying, कि,
Hmm.
"ये हुआ है मेरे साथ," and taken, played that sympathy card kind of a thing.
True.
But he never.
Yeah.
He said, "No problem. Let the Friday come. Let the numbers speak." I was on a call with David Dhawan, Varun's father, and I
Hmm.
told him that I mean these are my exact words. कि I think आज जब picture लगी है, तो
Hmm.
as the day would progress, लोगों की जुबान पे ताले लग जाएंगे क्योंकि वरुण ने इतना अच्छा काम किया इतनी नेगेटिविटी के बाद as a father he could have really gone and said कि देखो मेरे बेटे के साथ कितना बुरा हुआ है ये हुआ है he told me Taran, you and I have been part of the industry for so long, you've seen all this happening, this is part of our
Yeah.
industry, this is part of our career, so just
Hmm.
take it in your stride. I mean, I was so touched. He, as a father, as a parent, he
Hmm.
said, "Yeah, take it in your stride." It was a very positive attitude that really grabbed my attention. Varun Dhawan will be taken very seriously.
That's true, sir. But also adding to this, one very interesting point over here, and the audience should also be knowing, Taran sir reviewed Border 1 in 1997. And like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
almost like a circle of things coming back to him in a way, almost 3 decades and more than that, being in a part of this industry, knowing the tides change and how things are otherwise.
Yes,
You
yes.
have known, you have seen a lot in this industry. When after almost 3 decades, when you're seeing a film like Border 2 again, what is the difference you have noticed in the work versus what is the similarity which was kept intact and it worked in its favor?
See, both the films are different films. In
Hmm.
terms of, one that was a Battle of Longewala. And
Hmm.
this is a different battle. This, of course, it is the 1971 war, but this is
Yeah.
a different story that is being narrated here.
Hmm.
Uh, I have seen, I have reviewed, I should say, actually, JP Datta's first film, Gulami. This I'm talking almost 4 decades ago.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, so from Gulami, and I have developed a bond with him. Maybe
Yeah.
we don't meet often. I met him fleetingly once in between recently. पहले तो मिलते थे, मुलाकात होती थी.
Yeah.
And, but I always inquire with Nidhi as to how her father is and
Hmm.
how her mother is, Vidyaji. They are a lovely couple. And I feel one of the strengths of J.P. Datta when he
Hmm.
made those films, including Border, was the writing by his father, O.P. Datta.
Yeah.
He was writing all of J.P. Datta's films. And he was a brilliant writer. One of the best writers in the cinema I've seen. Meena, I saw it in Metro Theatre in Mumbai.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
And
Hmm.
and believe me when I say this, this film was something else when released. It was I distinctly remember it released on 13 June. And I remember the date because That's my birthday.
Oh, acha.
So I
Wow.
feel I feel
Huh.
this was a birthday gift to me.
Yeah.
Because I enjoyed
It
that
is like
film.
that. Yeah.
Imagine on a
Wow.
birthday you're going and watching the film, but of course I had to review it. So
Yeah.
that's the reason why I was watching the film. But
Yeah.
having said that, I feel it was a beautiful film. It was a beautiful film. And I genuinely feel that Border 2 is an excellent film as well. As I said,
Hmm.
I would not want to compare it. हाँ वो अपनी जगह बहुत अच्छी थी ये अपनी
Yeah.
जगह भी बहुत अच्छी है and
Hmm.
the fact of the matter is both the films are work that film was a blockbuster then and this film is on the way to be
Yeah.
one of the biggest hits of Indian cinema.
Wow, that's interesting. And moving on to this, while Border 2 has picked up at the box office, giving a very positive note to all the industry people right now because January has started on a good note. It also makes, many people feel like, okay, this could be a good year for how Bollywood is turning out to be. What do you have to say about how things are going to be for Bollywood in this year? Be it movies like Toxic, Ramayana, we have even Shahid Kapoor's film, and we have many such. Shah Rukh is coming with King at the end of the year. Salman is coming with Galwan. So what do you have to say about this
And,
and
and
this year?
Dhurandhar too, and
And
Dhurandhar.
Dhurandhar too, and
Yes,
Dhurandhar, of course, and the way that Dhurandhar has created
yes,
a different riot. I'm sure that
yes.
Dhurandar is
I'm sure. I'm sure.
getting
I
people
completely.
excited.
You know,
The good
there
part
are.
of Dhurandhar 2, sir, just to add over here, is that it's not taking a break like Bahubali 1 to,
Yeah.
reach to Bahubali 2,
Yes.
where
Yes.
we feel like, okay, chalo, it's coming in March.
Yes,
What do you have to
yes.
say about
You
that,
know,
sir?
Samina, I feel that एक बड़ी पुरानी कहावत है उम्मीद पे दुनिया कायम and I'm a born optimist. I genuinely feel that this year is going to be one of the best years for Bollywood, and
Hmm.
because the lineup is very impressive. Unless the content goes wrong in a very drastic way, that's besides the point. I hope not, but
Hmm.
I think it's going to be a great year because, as you rightly said, there's Ramayan,
Yeah.
there's of course Toxic, there's Dhurandhar 2, then there is Salman's film Galwan, and the song Matrubhumi is so beautiful. And
Yeah,
yes, and then of course King. Well, the Badshah is returning with the king. So
exactly. Yeah.
yes, and
After so, like the king and the title king also suits the personality what he is, the
yes,
king of
absolutely. He
Bollywood.
is the king, you know. He is
Yeah.
number one to number five in India and number one to number 10 in overseas in the
Hmm.
international markets. There's
Yeah.
no one to touch Shah Rukh Khan there. And I feel, and I strongly feel that this year, 2026, is going to be a landmark year, is a game changer for the film
Hmm.
industry. Because very interesting films, people have become more quality conscious. By people, I mean the people in the industry as well as outside the industry. And also at the same time, I feel that these films are not going to be the usual run of the mill films. You know, Dhurandhar has brought about a change. Of course, these films were planned before Dhurandhar, of course, I'm not denying that. But somewhere down the line, people don't want to accept anything that is mediocre. कि चलता है, दे दो, पसंद आ जाएगा. Stars को ले लो, पसंद आ जाएगा. No, that would not work. I feel stars can guarantee an opening perhaps for the first, second, third, fourth, or whatever, maybe the first day itself.
Hmm.
After that, it's eventually the content that speaks.
So, what do you have to say when it comes to a movie like that of Salman Khan? And this is a question which, of course, people are asking also how things have worked for him last year, especially with Sikandar. While the movie kind of crossed a certain amount and it didn't kind of catch the audience's attention as much. He
It did,
also
yeah.
massively, kind of suffered in terms of, getting trolled on social media. Now the expectations for Battle of Galwan has been also high because the kind of subject it touches.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about something, on
You
those
know,
lines for an actor like him?
you know, again, I saw Sikandar and I was so disappointed. You know,
Hmm.
Salman has had a fantastic innings in the recent past when he had Sultan and Bajrangi Bhaijaan and
Yes.
so many films, and he's worked wonders in
Yes.
those performances.
Hmm.
My personal favorite is Bajrangi Bhaijaan. I have tried every time I watch that film, the ending, Salman's performance moves.
True.
It's such a there's a softer side to him in real life also, and on the
Hmm.
film he displayed that, and it
Hmm.
was so beautiful.
Hmm.
He's the darling of the month. I just hope that वो दिल से नहीं दिमाग से सोचे and does films that
Hmm.
are very good for his career. I hope Galwan is the beginning of that
Hmm.
change Salman that we are about to see.
Yeah.
As I said, his star pool is immense. He's the darling of the masses. He's a Pied Piper.
Yeah.
And सिनेमा घरों के अंदर और बाहर उतनी भीड़ इकट्ठा हो जाती है सलमान खान की फिल्म को देखने के लिए. I hope he capitalizes on that and Galwan emerges a big hit. I think Salman has the potential to deliver those numbers. It's all about numbers, and he's delivered those 300 plus films. Then why not now? That means something is going wrong, and the wrong is the content. Sikandar was a weak film, was a terrible film, I should say, and no actor, howsoever good or he or she may be, can rise beyond a bad script. And they need a good script to actually carry it forward. And I'm sure, Galwan, fingers crossed, let's hope that this film works in a big way and Salman is back and back with the bang.
Well, that's interesting. And so, on that note, I have to also let go of you. I feel so bad because I want to have more conversations with you. But before letting you go, I want to ask you two things. Two things which is also becoming very popular of late in the cinema world, especially Indian cinema: action and hyper masculinity. Toxic, masculinity also, which has been a rage right now with movies like Animal, KGF. We have seen that. But now there is this hyper masculinity which came after Dhurandhar. People started speaking about that. And when I say so, action oriented movies, Dhurandhar was also an action packed movie. And people are getting attracted to such movies. Even if you see a Shah Rukh Khan movie, which is going to be a king, it's going to be completely action oriented. So, what do you have to say about this growth and what's your thought on that? The genre as well as the terms which are used currently.
We are talking about action films right now, and you're talking using these terms which you just used. I beg to differ. I don't really agree to that. In 1975, when a film called Sholay released, and a lot of people felt, "Arey, itna violence hai." But then it worked in a very big way in those days. उन दिनों के हिसाब से violence ज़्यादा लग रहा था लोगों को, but it worked. But it worked in a very big way, and that Sholay is Sholay. Then, of course, then came a phase of Shah Rukh Khan doing Bazigar.
Yes.
And then Dar. And people said, ये कैसे characters है? And believe me, Bazigar में कई actors ने reject किया था वो role. And then it eventually landed in Shah Rukh Khan's. And he said, okay, fine, I'm going to do this. And very brave of him. And he did 3 films in those days which were similar. As in negative shades in those characters. There was, starting with Bazigar, Dar, and Rahul Ravel's film Anjam with Madhuri Dixit. And people were shocked. Imagine he was actually pushing the envelope when we talk about it right now. He was pushing the envelope then. And today we have a tides have changed. You have access to the digital medium today. I'm sure you must have seen a lot of stuff which is very, very violent, which is very gruesome, which is more gruesome than what we project or portray in our Hindi movies. But then no one is complaining about that. It's just that Hindi movies become an easy target. And social media pe kuch zyada hi hota. So
thank you so much for such a lovely interaction. Always good to have you and giving an insight about, Bollywood all the time. Lovely to chat with you and thank you for making this day special in your own manner. Even though you had a chaotic, schedule, but you still, came. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And looking forward to see more, do more interactions around the box office of, Indian cinema and many movies for that matter. We really look forward to see your perception and your purviews have really worked. So thank you so much, sir, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, this is Amina Sheikh here on Zoom channel, and with me right now I have the exhibitor Akshaye Rathi to join me as I welcome him only on this platform. First of all, lovely to have you, Akshay. And as you could see that the business of Bollywood has suddenly started picking up with Dhurandhar making the noise, crossing 1,000 crores. Again, the business of Bollywood is kind of coming back to its original scenes. So what do you have to say about that?
Well, absolutely rightful times. We've ended 2025 with a bang with Dhurandhar, and we've opened 2026 with a bang with Border 2. And I think the kind of momentum that we are seeing at the box office, I truly believe that you have to have a couple of films back to back to really get the audience to be in the mood and the momentum to come to theaters again and again. And if you serve them content with consistency, that's theatrical worthy, they come, and then even that movie where they're a little iffy about whether they want to come to the theaters or not, they give it a chance. So this momentum is something that will help all the other movies that come ahead going forward in the next few months. And I
Hmm.
really hope that we can continue to satiate the audience's, taste buds and their demand for great
Hmm.
content in the time to come.
Now that's interesting. But also, as we see how the business has also kind of, picked up, but at the same time, now there is some competition which is taking place. People are speaking highly of Border 2 and the way it is also kind of catching up with the audience versus Dhurandhar. What do you have to say on that?
Well, see, both the movies are very, very interesting in their own way. And I think, while they are both phenomenally doing well, I'll tell you what I'm the happiest about, right?
Hmm.
We've had our generation after generation of superstars, right? Where the last true blue triumvirate of superstars in that sense was Shah Rukh Khan, Salman Khan, Amir Khan.
Yes.
Followed by that, there was the Hrithik Roshan phenomena, and to some extent, the Ranbir Kapoor phenomena.
Hmm.
The next generation of superstars, right, who become extremely bankable at the box office, whose face being on a poster
Yeah.
ensures a certain, quantum of business at the box office,
Hmm.
is a void that was waiting to be filled all this while. And to
True.
see two films that have Ranveer Singh with a terrific ensemble cast and Varun
Hmm.
Dhawan as a part of a terrific ensemble cast, I
Hmm.
really think that these two films will give them that sort of love, outreach, and traction at the
Hmm.
grassroots of the Indian box office market, which both of them have not had till date.
That's interesting. But also we have seen Border to demand up to 20 shows a day, in some multiplexes. As an exhibitor, where do you draw the line between maximizing a sure shot hit and maintaining a healthy variety for the audience? Because it's the 199 runtime, the minute runtime, a deterrent or for showcasing efficiency right now. What do you have to say on that?
Well, see, very honestly, up to a Friday, there's always a negotiation between distributors and exhibitors, but eventually, Friday onwards, there's only one entity that decides how many shows and how many screens a movie deserves to have, and that entity is the audience. See,
Hmm.
showcasing in cinemas is purely a result of a very basic economic law, the law of demand and supply.
Yeah.
Our job as exhibitors is to ensure that there is enough showcasing at the right geographies, at the right timings, at the right prices for the
Hmm.
maximum, possible viewers to be able to access that movie in cinema halls. And that's
Yeah.
why there are so many movies that have opened with a huge number of shows which have
Hmm.
fizzled out in the next couple of days, and then there are movies that have opened very small in terms of their showcasing and have literally grown by the day. And there are
Yes.
enough and more examples of both that we can think of in recent and from the old times. So
Yeah.
ultimately, all of these conversations are, like I said, limited to the Friday morning of the release. After that, the audience's verdict takes over, and it's our job as people in the value chain to really cater and service the audience and to make them happy because we all work for them.
Dhurandhar has shown incredible longevity, and even now people speak about that. While Border 2 had a bigger opening in today's market, is the big opening, still ultimate, or do you feel the metrics have changed the way how things are right now? Things have changed. The model has changed completely. What do you have to say about that?
Well, see, to be very honest, if you look at it, the opening is only one aspect of how films really perform, and that can always be a result of the kind of buzz, the kind of pre-release marketing that really is the prelude to a movie's release. And very often, like I said, there are enough and more examples of movies that have opened very small. I'll give you the most iconic example for this from last year, right? This Gujarati movie that came and became a rage, right? Lado. Forget about the first day, forget about the first weekend, forget about the first week. For the first 2 weeks, the movie almost seemed like it'll do nothing. The third week onwards, it just took off. Where in the first week, the entire week's collections were to the tune of some 2.5 crores. The second week was similar. The third week was 15 plus crores. So ultimately, every movie has its own destiny, and what eventually matters more than the opening day or the opening weekend is the lifetime business measured against the budget of the film. And on that count, I think both Border 2 as well as Dhurandhar have really outperformed every expectation there was from either of them.
Yeah, that's interesting. But there are reports of clubbing deals where distributors are using Border 2 as leverage to secure screens for future films like Toxic. How much of Sophie's choice is this for single screen owners who also want to play Dhurandhar 2 later this year?
See, negotiation tactics and mediums are deployed by us as well as distributors all the time, right? And eventually, it's always a question of, like I said, more than our opinion or the opinion of distributors, it's a question of respecting the audience's verdict.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm an eternal optimist, and that's why I'm really hoping that one of these two movies really chooses another date and all of us really get to optimize the kind of business that can happen out of Dhurandhar 2 as well as Toxic. But if it
Hmm.
doesn't happen, then I guess on the 19th of March, it will again be a question of the law of demand and supply.
We have seen the spy universe and now Dhurandhar universe, which is building up. Is the Indian audience reaching a franchisee fatigue point, or does the success of Border to prove that as long as there is emotion in the story, the Desh Bhakti, the patriotism, the template doesn't really matter?
See, I think while I agree with the fact that while that the template doesn't matter, I also think that it's important to handle a franchise or a universe right. Right. Every edition in it has to evolve from the previous one, grow bigger, better. The storytelling has to get nicer. What you cannot afford to do in a universe is get complacent and try and rehash the same formula over and over again. We've seen that happen with Indian franchises, and we have seen that happen to even something as big as the Marvel universe, right?
Yeah.
Where the last few films over the last couple of years didn't have the kind of traction that
Hmm.
you saw building right up to Avengers Endgame. And
Correct.
it's only a matter of time before Marvel chose to pivot and to reboot the universe, and
Hmm.
it's a matter of time before any of the Indian universes or franchises will have to do the same, because ultimately the expectations of the audience aren't
Hmm.
just measured against the last edition of the franchise. It's against the global standards of content that they consume in theaters as well as streaming platforms. So,
Hmm.
if for an action film we are watching a Top Gun Maverick, right? Our choice is always that because that's a movie that's accessible in theaters just as much as, let's say, a War 2 is accessible. So for
Hmm.
Indian movies to really, match up to the global benchmarks is very important. We cannot get away with the excuse that, hey, they have a bigger budget and we don't, and therefore we make a substandard product. The audience
True.
doesn't take that for an answer. So we
Hmm.
have to really spruce up our game. And through franchises, you obviously get the familiarity back at play in a big way with the audience. But to
Hmm.
make sure that after giving them something that they are familiar with, we have to live
Hmm.
up to their expectations. And that's always critical, whether it's a franchise film or not.
But as we speak, and as we speak about these modules, and even Dhurandhar for that matter, despite the polarizing view, around it, the way they got criticized on social media, it still crossed the 1,000 crore benchmark, and that is something which a Prabhas's Bahubali has done. It's very difficult, or even a Shah Rukh Khan's, Pathan for that matter. Do you feel that probably the politicizing of the situation of the storyline worked for them, and probably even Border 2 is going on those lines? Or was it only because it was a different kind of spy universe?
To be very honest, whether it's on the lines of political opinions or sociological causes, I
Hmm.
truly believe, and I'm not trying to endorse one side over the other in terms of the opinion spectrum, right? I just believe that the only thing that's really scary for a film or for any public facing product or service is indifference.
Hmm.
Praise is fine, hatred is also fine. There just shouldn't be indifference. And whether it's Dhurandhar or films like, let's say, Animal a couple of
Hmm.
years ago, right? Again, there
Yeah.
were very contrasting opinions, not about the politics, but the gender the gender politics of it. And
Hmm.
as long as you have a lot of people who are speaking for it and a lot of people who are speaking against it, and there
Hmm.
is that traction that it gets in the space of opinion making, it always aids any film or any content or any, like I said, consumer facing business. And
Yeah.
in the case of Dhurandhar as well, the polarization that happens on the grounds of politics
Hmm.
kept the movie in the news. And the more it amplified, the more it benefited the film because it generated higher curiosity among
Hmm.
patrons and made them turn up at the cinemas. And
Hmm.
in the case of Border 2, I don't think there's any political polarization that's happening. I think it's the familiarity and the franchise value and the fact that it's a film that really has a very strong emotional backbone. It's a
Hmm.
lot. The trajectory of Border 2 is very similar to the trajectory of Gadar 2 in that sense.
You have also spoken about, and often, in your kind of, video interactions, where you have spoken about the theater habit, with ticket and F&B prices reaching new highs for these big ticket action films. Are we accidentally turning cinema into a luxury only outing? Because not everyone can afford, like when you're going, and if I'm buying a ticket and then again I'm buying the F&B, it will cost me around 2,500 rupees, per film. So if I'm going with someone, do you feel that, or 3,000 for that matter, do you feel that it's becoming like that, following which it's also important to have these single screens, in tier 2 and tier 3. And what are your thoughts on that? The cost increasing because it's becoming like that, and not everyone can afford that, especially the Gen Z is being very calculative about it.
Oh, absolutely. I think India is a very price sensitive market, and we need to, as an industry, realize that India is a volume market rather than a value market. So,
Hmm.
while it's important to have a PVR Gold Class and a Cinepolis VIP for a certain section of the audience, it's
Hmm.
equally important to have these single screen cinemas as well as multiplexes that cater to a budget audience, right? Chains like Movie Max, chains like Gold, chains like Rajhans, which actually cater to the average Indian in that sense, where
Yeah.
ticket prices are about a 150 to a 200 rupees, which is a lot more financially accessible to a larger
Yeah.
audience. And as long
Hmm.
as we can offer that entire spectrum of exhibition choices from a PVR Gold Class to a basic single screen in every
Hmm.
market, we will
Hmm.
have something to offer to every section of the social strata. So it's important that there's not just the offering of this entire spectrum, but also growth in each category of it. So we need more single screens, we need more budget multiplexes, and we need more high-end cinemas for a market of 1.5 billion strong.
That's true. And you have experimented with different revenue generating IPs, talking about your own work within the exhibition space. In 2026, what is the next big side hustle for a theater owner? Is it alternative content, gaming, live sports, or is it a complete overhaul of the concession of
I
the,
think
the F&B model?
sure. So all of it, right? I mean, food and beverages. So one of the companies that I actually do a lot of work with, interestingly, is Swiggy, and
Hmm.
that sort of gives me a bit of a tab on how the consumption trends when it comes to food are evolving rapidly. Now,
Yeah.
if you've seen a lot of these companies, whether it's Swiggy or the competitors to it, they have something called a 99 rupee store, where
Hmm.
you're literally seeing that a huge section of the Gen Z crowd and the younger new consumers who have
Hmm.
their first salaries coming in are very price conscious. And for
Hmm.
them, interesting, trendy, quirky, fun things which are priced very aggressively really
Yeah.
make the cut. And to get them to be, larger consumers in cinema halls, I think we
Hmm.
need to have, again, much like our exhibition offerings, have a fairly wide variety of F&B choices, which are
Hmm.
very budget as well as some really high end stuff. So
Hmm.
whether it's the samosas or the sushi, we need to make sure that we offer it across the price band and make it accessible to as wide an audience as possible. And besides that, a lot of new things, right from virtual gaming to so much more that is really coming into play in a big way with the young audiences. And
Yeah.
to see the cinema halls not just as a mode of entertainment, but to see it as real estate that can be optimized 360 degrees, I think
Hmm.
is very important. And there are a lot of innovations that are happening where it comes to alternative content as well, where concerts of BTS have gone full. And I think
Yeah.
we've really been fairly wacky in terms of our experimenting, where even the 2019 Lok Sabha elections were shown in the cinema halls, if I remember it right. So
Oh.
we are
Yeah.
experimenting in every way possible. And it's
Huh.
only a question of what really cuts the ice at different points of times with the audiences. And if we can do
Hmm.
that with consistency, why not? It's fun.
And also, Akshay, as Gen Z is also introducing to a lot of languages out there, and the terms, which are defining the internet right now. One such word which is constantly used for Bollywood as a cinema is toxic hyper masculinity. And the movies are also proving it to be like that. And when I say toxic as a movie, Animal for that matter, Dhurandhar, though Dhurandhar still like kind of had a support for women out there, but people did speak about that. What do you have to say on that?
Well, see, very honestly, cinema is a reflection of society at a certain level, right? Now, let's rather than just blaming cinema, let's face the fact that whether it's in India or in any other part of the world, just look
Hmm.
at the spectrum of leadership, right? Politically,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
literally have alpha males or alpha leaders who really are ruling the world right now, and
True.
between right winger alpha politics and liberal left, there's
Hmm.
always a balance and counterbalance that keeps happening in the political spectrum. One rises and goes above a certain level of rationality. Voters choose the other side, or the people start to choose the other side of the spectrum. So,
Hmm.
at a time when only these big ticket alpha male driven mass entertainers were working. In
Yeah.
came Mr. Aditya Chopra with a romantic musical called Sayara, and look at the kind of reaction that it got. So it's
Yes.
important that we as content creators keep that balance and counterbalance at play every single, through every single quarter, and make
Hmm.
sure that we offer something to every
Hmm.
section of the society. So it's important to have the Pushpas and the Dhurandhars, but it's equally important to have a 12th fail, to have a Lapata ladies, to have a Sayyara coming in. And by
Yeah.
making sure that we give all of this to the audience at any given point of time, we'll
Hmm.
have a larger, wider patronage at the cinemas at any given point of time. And that will also allow us to not super saturate any style of storytelling or any genre. So the
Hmm.
balance is more important than making the choices of what works more than the other.
Also, recently, when Karan Johar took to his Instagram handle and he spoke about, people said like Bollywood is coming to an end, and he wrote a proper post around it, and he said, "Okay, back to back, like after Dhurandhar, now it's Border 2, and the way things have been working, I don't think so." And he feels so basically that I don't think so that Bollywood has come to a standstill. It's just growing and coming back with different kind of genres. What do you have to say on that? Someone like a filmmaker like that who's also seen his own setbacks in the last year, the kind of films he has done which didn't even work at box office.
See, it's the beauty of this industry or the challenge of this industry is to really create, ideate content and conceptualize it and create it over a period of 1 to 1.5 years,
Hmm.
assuming that the audience 1.5 years from now would like to see what you started creating today. So
Yeah.
you really are shooting ahead of the curve, and a lot of what you do as an industry is really about assuming, making calculations around what the audience's taste and preferences would be 1.5, 2 years down the line, and that makes it very challenging. So of course, we as the Indian entertainment industry have had our challenges since the pandemic, but the resurgence and the learnings from it have actually made us stronger in a lot of ways, and that's why I truly believe that 2026, with Dhurandhar, with Border, with Love and War, with Ramayan, with so many other films that are coming, will really make a comeback in post numbers that I think are truly historic. And I think that momentum is not stopping in this year. The learnings that we've had in
Yeah.
from the time when we were down and out are
Hmm.
going to help us and make sure that we are not just focusing on creating the kind of cinema that's succeeding, but we keep learning, unlearning, and relearning basis
Hmm.
the audience's changing tastes and preferences. So I completely endorse what Mr. Karan Johar has said, and I really hope and because we're talking about him, he's somebody who I truly admire because as a filmmaker, he's managed to stay relevant over 25 years as a director, right? And I
Yeah.
really, really am rooting for him to make a
Hmm.
comeback with a film that he directs, and I can't wait to see that succeed in a big way because Kuch Kuch Hota Hai and Khushi Kabhi Gum for a 90s kid like me are
Hmm.
sheer nostalgia and some great memories. And I'm cheering not just for him but for so many other filmmakers on whose work we've grown up. Whether it's
Yeah.
Rohit Shetty, whether it's him, whether it's Aditya Chopra, whether it's Suraj Barjatia who's making his new film with Ayushmann Khurrana,
Hmm.
and so many others. I really, really hope that all of them deliver in a big way in the year ahead.
And lastly, also now Salman Khan is coming with Battle of Galwan actually, and the film already is dealing with some controversies. But last year was not that great for Salman, and the years, since few years, he's not had that great, as such in terms of impressing with the content. Though the box office collections must have been great, and it must have crossed a certain number, the content has not impressed the audience as much. What do you have to say a film like that? Because again, that talks about, it's on the lines of Border 2. It's not directly like that, but it is on the lines of like that. So what do you have to say on that?
Well, see, about Salman Khan, I'll switch to Hindi for a phrase that describes his movies the best, right? You know what they say about that Marawa Hati Bhi Sawa Lakh Ka. So a bad Salman Khan film or a Salman Khan film that has not found the kind of traction that it deserves to.
Hmm.
Let's take the last one for an example, right? Sikandar.
Yes.
That went on to do over 150 crores of business despite being a film that didn't have the best opinions and reviews around it.
Hmm.
So with Salman Khan, the sheer raw stardom takes his movies to 100 plus crores at the box office.
Hmm.
After that, if the storytelling is great, that's when a Ekta Tiger or a Tiger Zinda Hai or a Sultan or a Bajrangi Bhaijaan happen. And very
Yes.
honestly, it's a question of time and that one movie that will really re-establish his stardom in the biggest way. And he's
Hmm.
had this, right? Before Wanted happened in, I think, 2008, he had a
Yeah.
slew of about 10 to 11 flops, movies that didn't do well. And then
Hmm.
it took one Wanted, made by Prabhudeva and Mr. Boni Kapoor, after which there was no looking back for almost a decade. So while
Yeah.
he is having a rough patch, what's unaffected is the stardom that he has built over close to 3 decades. People
Hmm.
who, as fans, are rooting and waiting for that one film that will change things around and give them the reason to celebrate. And whether
Hmm.
it's Galwan or the one after that or the one after that is something only time will tell. But having said that, what's remained unaffected clearly is stardom. Because even for a movie like Jeho or a Sikandar or any of these, people have still turned up in a big way, purely courtesy the impact in stardom of Mr.
Hmm.
Salman Khan.
Wow, that's interesting. And Akshay, on that note, thank you so much for giving insights, not only about the box office related questions, but also how, as an exhibitor, you think about the business right now. So thank you so much for giving your time today,
Pleasure.
and forward to see more such insights from your side, and doing this almost on a weekly basis. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.